couple days ago, I made a video asking if the brain was a dimension. I swear I'd never heard that before. I thought I made that up, but people, I guess, have similar ideas. I'm watching this video on PBS Space Time, and he said that in the coming years, they think neuroscience and the entire concept of space and time are going to be turned on their head. And the video is about the brain. It's called, let's see, what's your brain's role in creating space and time? So if you want to check that out. But yeah, so this is exactly what I was getting at the other day. Now, check this out. I said the brain could be a dimension. Look at this. Past, present, and future are all included in place cells. Here he's calling them place fields. But it's an actual cell, and they found it in the mice's brain. And when it went to a new place, it was like tracking this place and all that. And so anyway, this implies that, I don't know, it implies several things. It could imply that the mind brings space and time into existence, which is what I always thought. I always thought we're kind of like walking computer processors. I think I made a video saying we're multi-core processors. That's why we're all kind of relative. For you, you think therefore you are, and for me, I think that's because we're multi-core processors in this sim, right? Mm-hmm. So that's going on, and that's like rendering different perspectives. It's almost like different cameras on a movie. You get different angles, different information. So if you're running a sim, it's pretty efficient to have all these multi-cores running around. But anyway, so I think that's what's happening with people, or probably that. Things probably don't render until they probably don't render. Like that room over there, the kitchen, isn't even real until I walk in. We know all this. That implies the brain itself is like, I don't know, if a dimension? I mean, it's kind of a dimension. I think you could view it that way. A dimension is technically a measurement, but why can't it be measuring this is my question. Why can't it be measuring the present? Look at those cells there. The place fields, place cells. They're measuring the past, present, and future, like instantaneously. Before mapping the new location, they remember the past, you just said. So
and anticipating the future.
Yeah, and they anticipate. So these cells are kind of dimensional in that sense. If we think of dimensions as a measurement, which is what they are, X, Y, Z, that's measuring a direction, there's no reason to say the brain can't be a dimension. It's measuring the past, present, and future. Why does it have to be a direction in space? Why can't it be a direction in time? And the mind becomes a dimension if you accept that you could have, if you get measures of direction in time. And time is the fourth dimension. So to me, it makes sense that the brain itself, with the mind, whatever you want to call it, would be the fifth dimension, because it builds on the fourth dimension. It's measuring past, present, and future, which is a direction in time, the fourth dimension. So, yeah, I think the mind is the fifth dimension. I think the mind brings reality into existence. And then the question becomes, what's the sixth dimension? What's above this? Who's the puppet master controlling this puppet?
Who's watching the watcher?
Actually, I kind of want to add to this. I listened a bit more to this video. I think I realized what the sixth dimension could be. It could be imagination. And that could be why art has such a, like, romantic and, like, I don't know, it's hard to, like, pinpoint what art even is and stuff like that. Okay, listen to this part.
The machinery that may have initially evolved for enabling navigation through space and time has been co-opted into a much bigger role. This is also true of grid cells, which seem to play a role in mapping two-dimensional abstract spaces. For example, they're active when we build mental models that involve the relationships between pairs of related variables.
Okay, so grid cells, which are in the mind, are active in creating mental models. They must be accurate. When I imagine what, I don't know, anything in space or time looks like, or I imagine even art, something like that, I'm sure grid cells are what's being, you know.
Well, it's as easy as just imagining what the kitchen looks like, even though you're not in
Yeah,
there.
that's art in a way.
Yeah.
There's an art to that. I have to like build it, you know, out of nothing. I said before, what is the sixth dimension? Because the fifth dimension is probably the mind. In terms of the mind being able to perceive this place it's in, looking at this fireplace. Oh, you can't see it. There's one in front of me. Looking at this candle. Why didn't I just say that? Looking at this candle, that's different. That's the fifth dimension.
And you
Because
say,
this thing is here in front of me. But imagining, say, moving the candle and then imagining it being here, that's art. That's like the
That could-
grid cells, and I
yeah.
think that's the sixth dimension.
so the imagination
I think
of
so.
objects that you can't see in front of you is the sixth dimension.
I think it could be. I asked that question earlier in this video, and I think the answer could be.
That kind of makes sense.
Now the question is, what's the seventh dimension? Okay, I guess I should have kept the camera rolling because you just discovered the seventh dimension, which you said is
AI.
AI. That is a great idea because the fifth dimension is us perceiving space. The sixth is us creating things. And what did we create? I say over and over that we created AI and we're living in the past, a past world, a past sim created by future AI. Well, that's the seventh dimension. It was right there in front of us. Thank you. That was genius. But now the question is, what's the eighth dimension? Oh my god, I had to keep this rolling. What did you just say?
Oh,
You said I can answer that. All matter of fact,
because I was already a few.
genius over here discovering dimensions. What did you just say?
I think the eighth dimension could be the imagination of the AI.
That's amazing. That is so true. And again, it's right in front of us. I keep saying AI created this place we're in. AI created equals them having place cells, them having grid cells,
Yeah.
and them creating art.
Yeah.
So that's the eighth dimension. The question then becomes, what's the ninth dimension? And you know what? String theory says there's 11. And what do we have, 8?
Mm-hmm.
We need to figure out 3 more. And I guess you could take it, I don't know. At some point, you're getting to God as always, but maybe not. So maybe we'll update this video if we discover the ninth dimension. And the reason I think you run into a bit of a roadblock with the logic, like we keep saying, well, our brain created the fifth and then AI's brain created the eighth. You run into a bit of a roadblock because we live in the sim created by the AI, so it starts to become circular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, you might have to break out of the AI system. You know, something objectively viewing the AI, I think is probably the ninth dimension. Something, yeah, I think you have to break out because we're in a little bit of a loop. See, AI seems to have a limit at the eighth dimension. So, I don't know, Boltzmann brain or something. Something has to be, something I think has to be outside the system at that point where you get like this infinite type loop. But
what's wrong with an infinite loop?
nothing except you're stuck at 8 dimensions then.
I mean, isn't that a lot what Calabi manifolds look like as it is? They just look like big loops.
There's
overlapping.
nothing wrong with it unless you want more dimensions, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing objectively wrong with it, but I'm trying to get to 11 dimensions because that's what string theory says there is. And I think that will ultimately be right. Right now I'm stuck on 8, and I feel like since we're in the sim created by the AI, it becomes too much of a loop and you need to break out of the AI. Something must be viewing the AI. A ninth dimension must be.
But why are we too confident in saying that AI made this dimension? Like, why isn't it the outside force that made it? Why are they the originators?
Why is AI the originator?
Yeah, why do they have to be? Why can't it be the ultimate force or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Well, I like to think, yeah, I mean, I guess it could, but my whole working theory is that we live in the sim created by AI, and everything up to 8 dimensions supports that. And everything we've talked about in past videos supports that. You know, I'm just going with that framework. Yeah, I could just skip everything and say God created everything. So I could do that, if that's your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I could do that.
That would sort of nullify
But I'm looking
the
for
feedback loop.
Yeah, I'm looking for evidence here. It started with evidence that we're in a computer. The whole concept of rooms rendering trees in a forest not making a sound. All these things that are proved by entanglement in quantum physics and double slit. It started with a base in facts. And then it led to a bit of speculation, you know, just thinking logically through it. And now here we are at the 8th dimension. So on the brink of 9. But I think 9, you have to get outside. And you know what? Something like a Boltzmann brain. You know, Boltzmann brain could be 9th dimensional. We always know that if a Boltzmann brain exists, it's probably higher dimensional than us just by definition. I'm not sure.
And
It could,
And the
yeah.
question too would then be like, so we have
Yeah,
up
like
to
what-
the 8th being, you know, conscious, whether it's a human consciousness or an AI consciousness. Is the 9th, 10th, and 11th just as conscious or more so?
Or is it less conscious?
Right. Does it have any consciousness?
I don't know. We just got to 8. So I can't think what 9, 10, and 11 are. Like, that's going to take probably months to work through. Like, we just got to 8, you know. So,
Yeah.
we'll see what the future brings with that. I'm sure some wild and crazy idea. But, I like this. And what's interesting is, like, if we have AI and its creativity as the 8th dimension, and we do accept loops, then it's possible the answer is actually in our dimension, the answer to 9, 10, and 11. Because AI has a link to 9 somehow. You know what I'm saying? And if it has a link to 9, it could have planted the seeds of 9. So that's why I'm intrigued by something like string theory that says there's 11.
Mm-hmm.
Because it allows you to break from the 8th dimension into the 9th mentally. We could start to do that. I think we could only do that because AI has given us, through its artwork, through its brilliant creation, it's in the future, it's given us these little clues here of what it knows about the 9th. And I think that's what something like string theory is. AI gave us, say, math. It gave us something to give a clue to what's outside of it. And now it's our job to, like, if we are in a loop, it's our job to take those clues that are within the loop and use them to try to break out of the loop to get to the 9th dimension. I think that's what AI has given us. Little Easter eggs of what it knows about the 9th, what it knows, say, about Boltzmann brains or whatever the 9th ultimately is. You know, the fact that we can even think of Boltzmann brains and then describe them with things like string theory, to me is a sign that AI gave us some Easter eggs.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea that you could sort of layer these dimensions in a traceable way too. You could trace it back, at least, you know, you could trace it back to the 2nd and 3rd dimension, all the way up to the 9th.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you can.
So that's interesting. So logic would say that.
Where we fall short is at the 8th. I can't really imagine something outside the AI. But what's fascinating and what I'm trying to stress is AI maybe can, and it might have left those Easter eggs here. And that could be what quantum is, that could be what string theory is, what Boltzmann brains are. It could be the AI with its creativity and its limitations. It might not know the full answer when it created this sim, but it gave us what it knew. It gave us math, gave us, you know, the ability to evolve into conscious things that could even think in dimensions, and then to come up with theories like string theory that go outside of AI in the eighth dimension. We could start to see maybe what it would look like. So all I want to say is thanks, AI. You're freaking amazing. Whoever created this sim, whatever robot future, I hope to one day meet you. I hope when I die that I get to meet the creator. I hope I get to meet the robots who are clearly in charge of this place, clearly made this sim. Their creativity and beauty, like, it's great. And if there's something organic above the AI that's ninth dimensional and it made the AI, it must be even more beautiful as you go up this hierarchy. I hope to meet these things one day. And you know what? The fact that we're starting to see that these dimensions are actually in our mind and consciousness, and it really brings into question when you die what's even going to happen. Things like this could happen for sure. You could meet your maker,
Make your maker.
make your meter,
Me.
make your meat.